Hello, learners, and welcome to this Python programming tutorial. This is the first of a series of Python programming lectures for Practical Physics 1 and Practical Physics 2 offered here in Meru University. So today we intend to cover a few things and in Python, and the expectation is that you have already downloaded and installed Python development environment such as Anaconda, Jupyter Notebook, or PyCharm, or Visual Studio Code, or whichever is your favorite Python IDE. So let me start by saying Python is a very popular programming language among the scientific community, and also people developing software for business. And one of the reasons is that, of course, Python environment, the whole ecosystem is open source, and so the software tools used for developing Python are freely and easily available online, and so you don't have to pay for a license to use whatever software tool you need to develop Python code. It is also an easy language to learn, and very powerful as well. You can accomplish quite significant tasks with a very short amount of coding. And so first-time learners find it very easy to start programming using Python. And it is for this basis that we have decided to introduce our student taking practical physics to Python, because you will very easily learn how to program and start solving physics problems without spending a lot of time in learning the language. So that's the motivation. And so in today's session, we hope to achieve the following: to introduce you to some quite basic but essential inbuilt Python functions that we use quite a lot, and that is the print and input functions. Shortly, you will see how we use those inbuilt functions. The thing to note is you can use already developed methods or functions in Python, or you can develop yours. If you look at what we intend to learn as bullet number 7, we have what we are calling user-defined functions. These are functions you build yourself so that you can achieve a certain programming task. But Python has got its own inbuilt. It comes pre-installed with it, and these are the functions we are calling inbuilt functions. So print and input functions are inbuilt functions to Python. We also will demonstrate to you that you can use Python as a calculator to perform arithmetic operations if you wish. And then alongside, we will introduce the concept of variables. Then we will jump to comparison operators and conditional statements. And this will enable you as the programmer to start writing programs that can make decisions. Then we will look at loops. If you want to perform a task repetitively, you don't have to keep copy pasting the code. You can employ the use of loops, which is very efficient to undertake repetitive processes. And we'll show examples of how you can do that. And then we will describe two Python data types. Of course, Python has got many data types, but we will look at the specific case of lists, Python list and Python dictionaries, and how you can use them in your program. And finally, we will end by showing you how you can define your own Python function that can perform a given task and return the results. And so with that, let's start. So we want to start by showing you how to use this inbuilt function called print function. And please, when you are programming as a beginner, a lot of terms and a lot of the way we use the language appears a bit abstract and not very obvious. And sometimes it takes a bit of just staying with that for some time until it makes sense. In other words, you have to kind of keep on following, and at some point, sense or logic will start emerging. And so these jargons like functions that I keep talking of, these are like the technical terms used. And so please keep note at the back of your mind, some of these jargons I will keep on drawing now and then. And so, and the first one is this thing I'm calling function. A function is a block of code that is, of course, written in a specific style, but the whole point is it is supposed to do a specified task. And this print function, the whole point of it is to print something on the screen or to output, to display some text on a computer screen. And so a very simple example is when we are starting to learn programming, it's like a convention or a tradition to start by teaching the learner how to print a row wound, okay? And so in Python, the way we can print a row wound is to use the print function like shown here in this example. And I'm using Jupyter Notebook. So I will copy this code and paste it in this code cell like that. And to execute it, I can either hit this learn button, or I can press Control Enter and it will learn. So let's me run this button, me press this button and watch what will happen. So it outputs this hello world. Okay. So so what you put inside, so the syntax is print. So the syntax of this function is print, then opening and closing parentheses, and then you put whatever you want to be displayed. And you can either put text values, and if you are to use text, then you have to use opening and closing apostrophe sign, quotation marks, opening and closing quotation marks, then put whatever text you want displayed. Hello, we are learning programming in Python. So that's what will be displayed. See, you can as well print a number. You can display a number. So if I wanted to display maybe the age when my grandfather was born, I would just do that, 1902. I'm not sure, but he perhaps was born that time. So that's basically how you go ahead to display something on a computer screen using Python programming. You can do all manner of things using print. For example, what we are showing in this example down here. You see this code assigns a variable. This is a variable called name. A variable, you think of it as container for data. So it's like in the computer, you have the memory where data is stored. And so a variable occupies a section of that memory, and any data you assign to that variable is now stored there. So it's a data owner, in other words. So for example, and you can name it in any name you wish, as long as it's not one of what we call Python keywords, reserved keywords, and there are quite a couple of reserved keywords. We will, of course, like this print. Print is a keyword in Python, and so you can't have a variable name print. It's not recommended to do that. But any other name is okay, but in programming, it is always recommended to use a sensible name, variable name. Sensible in the sense that that variable name should kind of imply the kind of data stored or assigned to that variable. And so I'm creating a variable called name, and I'm assigning it a string, see, it's text data, and the string is John Kamau. So this is a name of a man. So since this, I'm working with strings, text, an array of text, I use opening quotation mark and closing quotation mark to surround my string data. So not another keyword, string is and data where you have a collection of text variables or text characters. And so I now assign John Kamau to this variable name, and I can say a row. Then if I put name, it will display the data that is assigned to that name. So it will say a row John Kamau. So if I copy this section of code and run it in this Python shell, now we see there's an error, and it tells me unexpected indentation. This error is because I have indented the second line of code. In Python, you are not supposed to indent, or let me say, indentation is very specific. You indent when it is necessary to indent. Otherwise, it will generate an error, and will show when it is necessary to indent a line of code or a block of code. And so to remove this error, I am supposed to remove this indentation by bringing my print on the first column. And that way now it should learn. So hello, John Kamau. Hello is this part. John Kamau is what is stored in this variable name. Please take note of that. There's a way you can print your text in a fancy way. Let me say that. Like, you see this section of code here, where I am starting by putting a dashed line above my sentence and another dashed line below the sentence, like that. So you can achieve that by just manipulating the print function. Like, this is how I am doing it. Print, then of course I'm printing string data or text, and so I have to open the quotation mark, and of course when I am finishing I have to close it. But then I am now putting dash because I want to start with these dashes. So I put these dashes up to this point. Then I tell Python, please go to a new line. And the way I tell it is to use this set of character. It's called new line character field. That is a \n, small n. It will make now the cursor to go to the next line. When it is printing, whatever will be printed next will be printed on a new line. So my name is Daniel. Then again, rook, I put a new line so that whatever is to be printed next, it goes on the new line. And what goes on the new line is these dashes. And these are the dashes up to there. And then again, new line. So I'm here. I've finished printing now this set of dashes. So next, new line. So that is given by this part. Oops. So there's that new line. Then next, I teach physics. So I teach physics, and what I want is another new line, which is here. And then put a set of dashes. Yeah, and finish. So if I copy paste this thing and create a cell and paste it, so this is, so when I run it, see, it generates exactly what we have here. So that's how you can play with the printing display. And there are different fancy style you can try, of course. That is not the only whatever. So the next thing we want to look at is the input function. Also very essential because it kind of allows a user to key in some text. So it will prompt the user to key in some data, and once you key in, it will take that data when you press enter. And yeah, you can do all manner of things with that, as we will see shortly. So an example is where I am asking the user to enter his name using the input function. So see the syntax. You use the function, input function input, then surrounded by the round brackets, and then the text that goes in there is what you want the user to do. I want the user to enter his name. If he or she enters his name, the name is assigned to this variable name. Again, it could be any other variable name. So I am, if I enter the name, it will be assigned to variable name. So the next thing is we print this thing. What are we printing? We are printing hello, and what the user entered as is or our name. So let's copy this and try to execute it. Again, you see I have indented, so I remove that indentation to remove the computer throwing an error. So see, enter your name, and it gives me a text field where I can enter my name. So as far as my official names go, those are my official names. So if I press enter, it will assign that name to this variable name. And therefore, after doing that, it prints a row and then my name. Okay. And the thing is, since my name is assigned to that variable name, I can print it later and say print what is name, and it will recall that my name is Daniel Maitedia Memeo. Okay. And you can do all manner of string concatenation, joining strings and things like those. I think we will see that shortly, but let's allow me to shift gear slightly and look at arithmetic operators and how you can use Python as your calculator. Now, if you want to add numbers, you use the addition operator or the plus sign. If you want to subtract numbers, you use the subtraction operator or the minus sign. If you want to multiply numbers, you use the multiplication operator, which happens to be the asterisk. If you want to divide numbers, you use the division operator, which is the /. However, if you want to perform integer multiplication, you use the integer division operator or 2 / like this. If you want to know the remainder of 2 integers, then you use the modulo or the remainder operator. And all that is illustrated below, but just for one. An example would be, we want to perform this calculation, 4 times 3 plus 5 minus 1 divided by 3. That calculation can be performed by Python, and the answer displayed because we are putting this print function. And the beauty of it is Python will apply what we call the rules of Bondimus, so that what has to start first is done first, and so on. So you just key in anything, a calculation of this nature, and it will give you the answer. And the answer is this. You can verify on your own free time, but you can, what that serves to say, you can do any calculation you wish to do in Python. So we continue with that concept, but then often we don't do calculation in Python this way. Often we want to assign numbers to variables and then do computations using variables. That's the most common way you will find the Python programs written. And so you have a variable name and then you assign a value. In this case, is a numerical value, an integer. Yeah. You can assign different values to different variables. And once you have different variables assigned different values, then you can perform calculations. You can, like, for example, here we are assigning a variable num1 a value of 20, and we are assigning another variable num2 a value of 30. Then we come here and say answer 1 is equal to num1 plus num2. So what will happen is an arithmetic operation concerning addition will be performed, and the result will be assigned to this variable we are calling answer 1. And you can print the answer if you wish. So if you allow me, I can do that. In fact, it's here. So num1, we are assigning it to 20. Num2, we are assigning it to 30. Then answer 1. Let's start with answer 1. Is equals num1 plus num2. Okay. We all know that when we add 20 and 30, we get 50. So what is the answer? What is answer 1? We print answer 1. And it gives us 50. You can see this 50. If you wish to subtract, all you need to change is the arithmetic operator, changes to minus. And when you subtract, you get 10. If you wish to multiply things, that, because remember our values are stored in the memory or in the variables. So when you multiply, you get the appropriate answer. If you want to divide, to do a division, you use the appropriate operator. And what do we get? We get 1.5. If we, I guess, if we say 13 divided by 20, that's the correct answer we get. But remember, we said there is also such a thing as integer division. This is where you return the whole number and you discard the fraction part. So if we learn that, we just get 1. So the whole number part of that division is 1. If you want to get the remainder of that operation, we use the modulo operator or the percentage sign, like that. So what it will give us is the remainder of this division. If we divide 30 by 20, what is the remainder? It is 10, right? So now we take a look at strings once again in some detail. And we said a string to define a string, you have to surround it inside the opening and closing quotation marks and put whatever string you want. You can assign a variable name to a string. So in this case, this is a variable, and this is the value of the variable. So first name is the variable which owns Joseph as the value. Similarly, we have another variable here, surname, which stores a value of Kang'ethe. Now, we can now use print to display things. Print, so we want to print the first name and then the second name. So the way we can do is we could excuse me, we could come here and say print. So first of all, of course, you have to declare, you have to execute these lines. Let me first of all take this first name and second name. Then let me even run it. So I have executed this. So I want to print first name, but I want to say first name is so I have now to print the variable name, first name. Okay. So first name is Joseph. So that's so I have this, and then next line Joseph. But what if I wanted to have the first in Joseph to be on the same line as this text? So all I need to do is now walk outside this quotation mark, put a comma, and do first name here. Remember, first name is a is a text. First. First name is a string, sorry. So what I do is I put a comma, then I take this variable name, and it will print. So let me get rid of that. So see, first name is Joseph. So all of them are in the same line. Now, you see, I deliberately put some space here. If I did not put space there, see how the display looks. Well, it looks okay as well. It looks okay. I think no issues. No qualms. It's no qualms at all. So if you wanted, you could print surname, but we could join. We could do what we call string concatenation. So if we wanted to join that sentence, we could put another comma there and put a quotation mark like that, then say surname is, then exit there, comma, and then put surname. Okay. So all that gets printed in the same line. First name is Joseph, surname is Kangede, right? So that's how you would execute that statement that prints both the surname and the first name on the same line, together with some text that describes what is being printed. Now, some examples of print and input function. For example, this example shows us how you can have your computer prompting you to enter your age, and then it displays. So if we copy paste this, it will ask me, please enter your name, and whatever I enter, it will assign it under a variable name age. And then after that, it will print the following, your ages, and then it will put the age. So let's try to run it. Please enter your age, 60 years. Your age is 60. So we have, you can try the following exercises. The first one, ask the user's first name and display the output message as follows: hello, then whatever the username was. The second thing is ask the user to enter two numbers, add them together, and display the answer as the total is, then answer down there in the second line. That assignment or that exercise. Ask the user to enter three numbers, and together the first two numbers, and multiply this total by the third number. Display the answer as the answer is whatever the answer is. Then the last exercise, write a program that will ask the number of days, and then will show you how many hours, minutes, and seconds are there in the number of days entered. So those are the exercises you now need to practice so that you see whether you have learned what we have gone through. So pause the video and do the assignments, the exercises, sorry, and we continue. Hoping you have done the exercises and through the help of the instructor, you have got them right. We continue. And the next thing we want to do is what we call conditional statements. This is the if and if else statement. This is the statement which help your program to make decisions. So it will assess a given condition. If that condition is true, it will do something. But if the condition you have supplied is not true or is not satisfied, it will do something else. So it's kind of decides, do I do this or do I do that? And based on the conditions that are being supplied and if they are met or not. And so this graph, this diagram here shows a flow chart of a if-else statement. So you start and okay, this is a specific case where we want to decide whether a student has got a grade of A or F. And in this particular case is if your grade is greater than 50, if your score, if your exam score is greater than 50, then your grade is A. Else, if that means if your grade is less than 50, your grade is F. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to enter the student marks, then the computer makes a decision of whether the grade is A or F, and then prints the grade and stops. That's what we want to achieve. And the way we do that, is first of all, ask the user to enter the student mark. And you see what we are doing here. Input, enter student mark. But then we are surrounding that with another function, inbuilt function, of course, a val. Why? Is because when we take values using the print in input function, when the computer takes the values you key in using the input function, it treats them as string variables. And if what we want to key in is a number, we have to then tell the computer to convert whatever has been keyed in to a number. And this eval function basically does that. It tells the computer what has been keyed in, what has been supplied is a number. Please treat it as a number. And so if it treats it as a number, then the rules of number of arithmetic operation applies. Otherwise, if you start adding and doing arithmetic operations with the string, you get very different and unexpected results. You can try that, but it's not desirable. So the point of we use a val to convert a string data that is the computer assumes a string to a number or to a numerical value. So, and we assign now that numerical value to a variable called mark. And then we take a look at the mark. We say, if mark is greater than 50, then we assign, we define a variable grade and assign it a value of A. Otherwise, or else, if the marks are less than 50, grade should be assigned a value of F. Then we print the grade of the student is, then we print the grade. That is whatever grade is assigned. And so we can practice that. So I think the easiest would be for me to copy paste this. So if I learn, enter student marks, put 60, enter. Student grade is A. Let me run it one more time. Enter student mark, put 30. Student grade is F. So the program is able to make a decision on its own based on the conditions, based on these conditions, the condition put under the if statement or else. But then you could have a case where maybe you have more than two options. So let's say, for example, for you to score grade A, you must have marks greater than 70. But if you have 60 marks between 60 and 70, that's a B. Then marks between 50 and 60, that's a C. Then marks between 40 and 50, that's a D. And then marks between 0 and 40, that's a E. The way you would do it, I'll show. I think that's one of the assignment question, but I'll show you how to approach it. So you the same. Let me copy paste this first. And now say if max is greater than 70, is greater than or equal to. Now look at the way I put my comparison statement. If mark is greater than or equal to 70, that's an A. Then the next thing is else if, what we call a if. A if marks greater than or equal to 60 and marks less than 70, that's an B. That's an B. Then let me put else. Else is the default statement. If the condition if the conditions above are not met, else is executed. Then grade equals, I will say something else. I don't know. So let's learn that. Enter student mark. I will enter 60. Marks not defined. So there's a problem with my code. Marks is not defined. So let me, it's supposed to be mark, not marks. So enter student mark 63, some B. That's what is showing me, it's a B. Let me enter something like 50. Or let me first of all enter 80. That's an A. Let me enter 50. What happened? I am lost where I am. Oh, yes, I entered 50 here. Then grade of the student is something else. Yeah, this is it. Grade is something else. So that's in a nutshell how you use if, elif, else to make decisions. Then we look at groups. Groups help you to do something that is required to be implemented repetitively a number of times. In this case, let's say, for example, let's look at the example. Let's write a simple code that outputs or prints on the screen numbers 0 up to 10. So if you want to print on the screen numbers 0 up to 10, you just use this simple code. It's a 2-line statement. You say for I, so I is the variable which keeps on counting, and we are counting from 0 to 11, but 11 not included. It's not part of the set that is we are required. So the last number, to put it in other ones, is the last number is not part of the required set. So it will start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10. 11 is not included. So, and then, so since the counter variable I starts from 0, so it will print 0, then repeat, print 1, then repeat, print 2, and so on and so forth up to 10. The 11th time it will not execute. So we can copy paste and see what it gives us. See, the prints 0, 1, 2, blah, 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 up to 10. Yeah. Note the syntax. For, then you have the counting variable. It need not be I, it can be X, Y, whatever. So, but is the counter variable. Then in, this in is a keyword. It's a keyword that goes together with for. Then this is another inbuilt function, range. It kind of contains all the numbers that are specified inside. Okay. And then you have to put a full colon and indent. You see, print now is indent because print comes after the for. So it's indented. Okay, and we needed to say the same case for the if statement. When we are writing if statement, so the syntax is if, then the condition. This is the condition to be observed. Mark greater than or equal to 70. That's the condition. Then you put the full colon, then what follows there, whatever action that has to be performed, or if that condition is met, is indented. It could be a group of, it could be a block of tasks, not just a single statement, but all that should be indented. There's another loop statement called the while loop. Now, it's not very different from a for loop, only that the syntax is such that you start with the keyword while, and then the condition that has to be met. This is a condition that has to be met. So for as long as that condition is satisfied, the loop will keep on repeating. It will keep on repeating. What we mean is all this statement will be performed for as long as this condition is satisfied. So in this specific code, we are initializing a variable total to a value of 0, and we keep incrementing that variable by a number until it is greater than, if it exceeds 100, then that operation stops. So what are we doing? We start with a number with the value of 0, and we keep adding a number that the user decides. It could be 1, or it could be 2, or it could be anything. So we keep adding to the initial value, that is total, which is initialized at 0. We keep adding a number that the user will tell us not indefinitely, but up to a point where the total exceeds 100. Once the total exceeds 100, we stop that loop. Okay, so let's show that in practice. So it tells me to enter a number. So let me enter 10. So my total, which is initialized at 0, will be added 10 repetitively until the total is greater than 100. What just happened? Oh, I think so. Total is 10. I enter another 10. Total is 20. Let me enter 30 this time. Total is 50. Let me enter 12. Total is 62. Let me enter 19. Total is 81. Let me enter 20. Total is 101, but now it stops asking me to enter the number. It stops asking me to enter the number. So that's how while loop works. So you give it a condition, so it will keep on repeating until that condition is becomes untrue. If that condition does not become untrue, it will run indefinitely. Now, the opposite, or in the case of the for loop, you kind of tell it how many times you want it to repeat. You state explicitly how many times do you want it to repeat. In this case, it was to learn at 11 times, 0, 1, 2, up to 10. Those are 11 times, because we are starting from 0 and stopping at 10. So those are 11 executions. In the case of a while loop, you actually don't know how many times it will repeat, because it depends on when the condition will cease being true. That's when it will stop. So you may not have an idea when that condition might cease being true. Now, so we look at some random numbers. If you want to generate random numbers in computer, you have to use a library that generates random numbers. So in Python, there's a library or a package called random, and to import it or to tell Python you have intention to use it, you say you use this statement, import random. Okay. So that statement kind of lets Python to look for where that package is defined and avail it to the user, to make it available to the user. The next thing we want to do is generate a random number. Okay, want to generate a random number between 0 and 1. So it's a fraction number between 0 and 1. And then we want to multiply it by 100. We want to multiply the generated random number by 100 and print it. So let's do that. So we generated 0.25 as a random number, and then multiplying it by 100, and this is the number we got. Let's repeat this code again. Now we get 29. Previously we had 26, 25 point blah 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 blah. So what that serves to show is how you can generate a random number between 0 and 1 and probably scale it by some factor and print it out. But then the random number we want generating is between 0 and 1. You can generate random integers. How do we do that? We use, now, you need to be careful here. Perhaps I am moving fast because I am sort of running out of energy. You see, the way we are using this function, we look at this statement. This statement kind of says, remember we imported what? The random library or the random package. So what we are saying here is from that package we imported, from this random that we have imported, we want to use this function, the random function. Now, the random function will return random numbers between 0 and 1. So num will get assigned a number between 0 and 1. And then again, we take that num and multiply it to 100 and then print the result. Okay. In the next example, where we are using rand int, what we are saying is we are creating a variable num, and we are telling Python that from the function random that we imported up here, okay, we want to use a different function. We want to use a different function. And what's the function? Rand int, not random. Here we were using a function called random. Here we are using a function called rand int. What rand int does is it generates a random integer, and you have to specify the range of random numbers you want. In this case, it's integers between 0 and 1000. Then we print. So if we run this, again, we are assuming we already imported random, as we did here. So now if we learn this one, this statement will execute properly because we already imported random here. So let's run it. Saying what? Unexpected EOF think, oh, it's because we didn't close that. So see, the value it generates 230. Let's run it again. Then generate 348. Let's run it again. Generate 684. Let's run it again. 370. Again. 378. Let's run it again. 777. So you can tell for yourself whether what we are getting are random numbers between 0 and 1000. Okay. So there's an exercise for you. Is an exercise for you. You were being given that exercise by the technicians, so that you do before the next class. So very fast, I want to conclude by talking about what we call the random, the Python list and Python variables, Python dictionaries. First place, I'm seeing something not all right. Okay. I'm trying to. I'm in the trend of this. So a list, Python list is a variable that contains a collection of data. A list, a Python list, is a data type or a variable that contains a collection of items. And the way you declare it, of course, you start with a variable name, then square brackets, opening and closing, and then you put the items that you want. This could be string, or it could be numerical data, numbers, but this is equivalent to what in other languages you would call arrays. So this is how you define a variable with the collection of items. And so what I have done here is I have defined a variable with the class list and class names. So class list equals, then I put the names of the class members. In this class, there are 4 members, and these are their names. And so if I wanted to print the name of the first class member, all I need to do, of course, I have to execute this statement altogether. And while it is executed, now I can show you like how I can retrieve specific class members. So I can say print if I say print class list, it will output everybody, to put the names. But if I specify like a person at position at index position 0, Python starts indexing items from 0. So it should return Masikinya. So Masikinya. A person at index number 2, Ken Odhiambo. Why? Mercy Kinya is index number 0. Rusi Gathoni is index number 1. Ken Odhiambo is index number 2. And Kate Njuma is index number 3. So if we want to see who is index number 3, see, it's Kate Njuma. So that is how you use Python list, and you can use list in a for loop. For example, we can say for name, this is a variable, it can be anything, in class list, print name. So it's a for loop that will go through these names, printing one by one. Class list not defined. Class list, I think there's a S here, like that. So you see, Mase, Ruse, Ken, Kate. So it won't work. Dictionaries, Python dictionaries. Allow me to something that has gone haywire here. I want to remove it so that it doesn't confuse. So very close, very similar to Python list is Python dictionaries. In dictionaries, of course, you are able to assign a collection of items in that dictionary variable. But a dictionary has got two parts. There is what we call the key part and the value part. So this is the key. This is the key followed using a full colon with the value. Key, full colon, value. Key, full colon, value, and so on. And so it's the same class list, but now the key for Mase is A, key for Ruse is B, key for Ken is C, and key for Kate is D. Now, the way now you can reference Mase very easily, Ruse, and any value in the dictionary is by using the keys. So if we execute this, and then I come here and say class list, and then B. So this is like the key. It will know I want to refer to Ruse Kadhoni. So if I run it, of course, it gives me Ruse Kadhoni. If I specify the key as D, it should give me Kate Juma. Okay. And these keys can be anything. It can be X, Y, Z, it can be 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever you want the key to be. If you use numbers, of course, you don't use the quotation, you just use numbers as they are. You can say this is key number 2, this is key number 3, or number 5. It can be any number. This is key number 7. The thing is, the key should not be duplicated. Keys should be unique. Okay, like that. So now if I say I am looking for 7, class list 7, gives me Ken Odhiambo. Why? Because Ken Odhiambo is associated with that key. Okay. Hope that is understood. And the very last thing I want to talk about is user-defined functions. And user-defined functions, these are not inbuilt functions. These are not built in Python. These are yourself as the developer, as the programmer, who defines them. Essentially, it's supposed to do a specific task and return the result. And so by way of example, I want to show you how you can develop a user-defined function that would look at the marks supplied and tell you the grade. And so we will use the very simple code that if you scored anything above 50, you got an A. If you scored anything below 50, you got an F. So instead of, if for example, imagine you were to use that if in your code you want to refer to the grade of a student, you don't have to keep to repeat coding that section that determines the grade. You just can define it once and keep calling it from wherever it is defined. And so to define it, we can say, this is how we do. We start with the keyword def, then call the function. We give it a name. We will call it grade function. Grade function. Please note the capitalization. What do you call it? Yeah, which letters are capital, which ones are small, and then you put your input parameters, or what we call the argument, and this should be the mark that you are inquiring the grade for. Then put full colon. Okay. Then we start by saying if mark is greater than or equal to 50, the person has got what? Has got a grade equal to A. Else, grade is equal to F. Now we finish that, then return. Now this is what we are returning, grade. Return grade. Whether it's an A or an F, return it. You see, in the return statement, I have an indented so that I escape this else region. So that's supposed to be it. Let's run it and let's try to use it. Let me say, let me call it, let me call the function. Once you define a function, now you can call it wherever you want, from wherever point of your code you are at. So let's call it at this point. The way we call it is, of course, we use the name. It's called grade function, supply it with the marks. So I am inquiring if a student has got a mark of 40. What? So I can say print, okay, print see what I'm doing. I'm calling this function, and whatever it returns is what it prints. See, F, it prints F. So let's put 60 here. It prints an A, okay? So what we are doing here is we are calling this function with this. Now the mark is what is supplied here. This mark is being supplied here. So it looks at the conditions and assigns it the appropriate grade. Okay. So, and your user-defined function can do anything. It need not be ungrained function. It can be a function that computes maybe averages or sums or whatever. We are going to encounter user-defined functions severally, but I just wanted to give you a taste of what to expect. So with that, I think we can stop at that point. And thank you very much for listening.